It is true that everyone, even autistics, stim. It has also been said that autistics are better at stimming, and I believe that to be true. In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 types of stimming and 75 common stims of autistic adults. Now let's get started. Hey, define yourself as I am Chris Mitchell, aka The Confident Autistic, from theconfidentautistic.com. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. I truly appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'm an autistic adult, late diagnosed, a multi-certified life coach, and an advocate for autistic adults who is on a mission to empower you to embrace autism confidently. You can show your support for my mission by liking, sharing, and commenting on this video. But the best way for you to show your support is by subscribing to my channel. And when you subscribe, do not forget to ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted and when I go live, including my weekly Q&A live stream. Stimming, or self-stimulatory behaviors, are repetitive movements or actions that individuals engage in to regulate their sensory input, manage emotions, or cope with stress. Stimming is a natural and important technique autistic adults use to self-soothe and authentically express ourselves. Stimming should be recognized as a valid and vital form of sensory processing and self-expression. Now, acceptance of and accommodations for stimming by autistic adults can greatly improve the wellness and quality of life for autistic adults. There are 6 different types of stims: auditory stims, olfactory stims, tactile stims, vestibular and proprioceptive stims, visual stims, and vocal stims. Let's start with auditory stimming. Auditory stimming is a self-stimulatory behavior that engages the sense of hearing. Examples of auditory stimming include tapping, like tapping your fingers on a desk or tapping your foot, whatever tapping that makes noise. Clapping your hands. Playing music on repeat. Repeatedly pressing the same button on a sound-emitting device. Repeating the same section of a show or video. Now this, I think, can be expanded upon playing the same video, the entire video, like a short video on YouTube. I do this at times with the Karen song by Tim Hawkins. I have a link to it in the video descriptions, as well as the upper right-hand corner of this video. And I probably, whoever posted it, I can't remember who, I probably gave that person over 100 views of that video, May of 2024. Another form of auditory stimming is dropping or throwing objects to hear the noise they make. And I have an object that I don't really have to throw or drop. Well, I can drop, but I don't have to do either. But I can just throw in my hand. And this little baseball, and let's see if the mic will pick this up. It plays the sound of glass breaking, and I just love that sound, and it's so soothing to me, and it brings back memories of watching Late Night with David Letterman when he threw index cards behind him through an imaginary window, and the sound effect guy played the sound of glass breaking. The next type of stimming that we're going to discuss today is olfactory stimming, and this is a self-stimulatory behavior that involves smell. And examples of olfactory stimming include smelling food before eating it, smelling pages of a favorite book, smelling a favorite shampoo or conditioner, sniffing objects frequently, sniffing familiar items of comfort, licking objects to smell them. Now, as a literal thinker, which many of us on the spectrum are literal thinkers, I'm just thinking, licking an object does not help me smell it as much as maybe help me taste it. But to each their own. I guess maybe you lick something off, you can, it may emit a smell depending on what the item is. But that one just seems weird to me. But it's part of the list, and if you do it, no judgment here. Rubbing objects on the nose, or any part of your body for that matter. Seeking out strong smells, and collecting scented items. Now, the third form of stimming that we're going to talk about today, or category, if you want to call it that, is tactile stimming. Tactile stimming is a self-stimulatory behavior that involves using the sense of touch to regulate emotions. Now, examples of tactile stimming include repeatedly touching items, textures, or surfaces, scratching or picking at your skin, rubbing or stroking skin, irregardless if it's your own skin or someone else's skin. Chewing on items to experience how they feel inside your mouth, which I've done that. I used to do it with pencils when I was in school. I've done that with pens. I had one pen break and start leaking in my mouth, which kind of dialed that back a little bit. But I still like putting things in my mouth at times, like a little child. I don't know. It's like, don't put that in your mouth. Rubbing teeth together, which is also known as grinding teeth. Now, some of these items you will hear me talk about today, some of these stims, could fall into two categories. And this is one example, okay? Because grinding your teeth is something that you could feel. Yeah, you know, the sense of touch, the feel that you can have, but it also can make a noise. So it could also be an auditory stim. So some of these can fit underneath two different categories or types of stims that we're going through today. Rubbing your hands together could be another tactile stim. Hand flapping, which not everyone in the spectrum does, but for some reason that seems to be a stereotype people have about autism. Hair twirling, finger tapping. And again, I know we talked about that in the auditory one, doing tapping so you can hear the nice rhythm of it. But you can also do the finger tapping, and you can also feel the different sensations of whatever you're tapping on. I'm tapping on my desk right now, and I love the sound because I have a repetitive pattern. Love that. And I get to feel the differences of the texture of my desk. My desk has a really nice texture to it, and I love touching it. Finger picking is another example of tactile stimming. Now, number 26 of our 75 items that are common stims, and we're still in the tactile section of this presentation, is finger flicking, finger biting. It's number 27. Item pinching. And that could be maybe yourself, maybe like I like to pinch the edge of my needle ball, whatever it is. Opening and closing a fist. Touching objects, leaning into objects, squeezing objects. Now, this is what I like. I like squeezing my needle ball. Button pressing. And there are times I have the remote in my hand. I just like pushing buttons on it. It's so cool. Anyway, tiptoe walking. Pouring liquid over your fingers and hands. And digging hands and fingers into soil or sand. Now let's talk about vestibular and proprioceptive stims. And these were new terms to me when I first started learning about autism, my own autism, and studying autism. So I'm not going to assume you know what these terms mean. So let's break down and look at the definitions of each. Let's start with vestibular stims. And these are activities that focus in on gravity and movement. The vestibular system is also known as the balance center, and it receives information about the body's movement in space. Now, proprioceptive stims are activities that focus in on position and movement of muscles and joints. Now, examples of vestibular and proprioceptive stims include rocking, swaying, jumping, pacing. I love pacing, and I lost pacing. Allow me to explain. I paced a lot. When I first was dating my wife, and we were engaged, dating then engaged, I paced a lot. And it drove her up a wall. Then I had to go in for surgery. I have a heart condition, constricted aorta, so they had to do an ascending to descending aortic bypass. And during that procedure, I survived an ischemic stroke to my spinal cord, which is an incomplete spinal cord injury. And now I can only walk with the help of mobility aids. So pacing's out of my life. And when I lost the pacing, the ability to pace, that was really hard for me as a person on the spectrum. Now, number 41 on our big list of 75 common stims that some autistic people may participate in, which we're still talking about the vestibular and proprioceptive stims, is swinging your body around, hanging upside down. Now, this is probably best illustrated by, kids hanging upside down from monkey bars or something like that. But adults, we could hang upside down from stuff. I mean, or, your spouse may think, what the heck are you doing? But we do like that at times. Bouncing on a trampoline, seeking pressure, and tensing your body up. It's a little tense and feeling that. Now, speaking of seeking pressure, I want to go back to that one for a moment and share something with you. Now, I do pick on my skin a lot and scratch. If my skin has any imperfection on it, I have to dig at it. If there's any like loose skin, I got to peel that off, and then it messes. And you can't see it on the camera, but up and down my legs, I have a lot of these Band-Aid wraps. And when my wife puts them on me, we want to make sure they're tight so they don't come off easily. And that pressure, oh, I enjoy that a little bit. And then I also have an elbow brace you've seen in some videos that I like to wear when my elbow is hurting. Now, this is not because I scratch or anything. This is because my cat scratched me. He's trying to get up on my lap and from the floor. I was sitting in the recliner, and it's about maybe 18 inches, if that, okay, to get up there. And him standing on his hind legs and holding his paws up, he's about 2 feet tall. But he started to slide, and he was afraid he was going to fall. But he does not realize he always lands on his feet. So he dug into my arm, and I have a big scratch here. And to prevent me from scratching at this, we put this little ace bandage thing on here for me. Now, the next category or type of stimming we want to talk about today is visual stimming. And visual stimming is a repetitive behavior that involves the sense of sight. Now, examples of visual stimming include blinking, moving your fingers in front of your eyes, turning lights on and off, staring at objects or lights. I've done that. I used to get yelled at all the time as a kid. I would stare at the sun. My parents said, don't do that, bad for your eyes. And they were right. Okay, let's be honest about that. But I was attracted to light. I always thought I was part moth because I love lights, This is the light, let me go towards it, that kind of thing. So I would do that and stare at lights. But yet I am sensitive to lights. And I wear a hat all the time. But I like staring at them. It's kind of a catch-22 for me. I don't know. Now, the 50th item on our list of 75, which means we're getting to 2/3 of this list is done, and this is still part of visual stimming or stimulations, is watching light and sensory lights as they glow and glisten and move. One thing that I've read about that autistics like to do, and I did this as a kid, and if I did not have my physical challenges I have today, I would probably do it now, is lay underneath the Christmas tree and look up at all the lights twinkling and blinking and all. Loved that. Another form of visual stimming is watching as you drop small items in front of your eyes, creating high color contrast environments. Now, I'm the opposite. I don't like high contrast. And the reason I'm saying this is not to call anyone out or make anyone feel bad. If you're into that, hey, more power to you. No judgment zone here. But I want to illustrate this because everyone who is on the spectrum experiences autism differently. There's an expression that goes, you meet one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. And me, I love the color blue. And I don't like a lot of colors around me because that's just too busy, too much visual noise for me. So I don't like that. But I get some people doing. I find a lot of things in the autism space that could be STEM toys that have multicolors on it. And I'm like, I just want something of one or two colors. I don't need 8 different colors. This is too many there for me, but that's just me. Another form of visual stimming is observing reflections. Using a visual resource to notice patterns, such as a kaleidoscope. I loved kaleidoscopes as a kid. In fact, now that I'm reading about this, I've forgotten about them over the years. I want to get one. Now, problem I have with kaleidoscopes is once you play with it for a while, oh, I know what's coming next in the pattern and all. And you do see a pattern in it and all. But I like to maybe get a different kaleidoscope. And does it have a different pattern? Nope. It has the same one. You go into the store, they all have the same pattern. But I would like to get kaleidoscopes and each one having a different pattern and choosing the ones that help me at certain times. Maybe certain patterns would be more stim self-stimming and self-regulatory than others at certain times, depending on where my anxiety level is and what's causing my anxiety. Another form of visual stimming is watching the washing machine or dryer drum as it goes through a cycle. Don't get inside and do that, okay? But I mean, you go to laundromat and you can, especially the dryers, you can actually watch the clothing tumble around in it. It's kind of cool. Another form of visual stimming is head tilting to look from a different angle. Now, a lot of people say people who are on the spectrum naturally tilt their head. And I know as a kid, I always had my head tilted. My dad in particular was really like, why is his head always tilted? And I just do it all the time. If I do this, it's kind of painful for me to keep my head straight. It's a little bit easier if I just kind of tilt it to my right. Looking from your peripheral vision is another form of visual stimming. Dumping out objects from containers to see what patterns they may create is a form of visual stimming. Spinning objects is a form of stimming, visual stimming, that is. And I have up here somewhere, there it is. I have this. This is my fidget spinner. I love this thing. And this is a visual stim because I think a little bit tactile because you get to touch stuff and get it moving. But the fun part is you hold it up right, and I know it's not going to get in the camera, but you can see little different lines and light patterns reflecting off of it because of the blue. There's blue in here, there's black in there, and then there's the actual kind of silverish metal. And when it's spinning real fast, it makes patterns. I love doing this. This is cool. And the other two examples of visual stimming that I want to share with you today is staring and zoning out. That's one. And the other one is lining up objects. Now, a lot of people, they've said when they get their assessment as an adult, because some people use the criteria for a child, they will put some toys out in front of you and ask you to line it up. And you feel like, I'm not a child. I'm not a moron. I don't do this. Well, kids are not morons, but I mean, uh, I don't do that. I don't play with toys. But it can be lining up of any objects, okay? I do line up my buses. I have on my desk here, and they got a little out of it. They did, didn't they? What happened to them? Oh boy. That's what happened. One's over there. My wife rearranged stuff. I keep my toys in alignment. I like keeping things very well organized. And so when I look at them, it's a pattern. It's not cluttered. I like that. Last but certainly not least is vocal stimming. Vocal stimming is a self-stimulatory behavior that involves making repetitive sounds with your mouth, lips, and vocal cords. Now, examples of vocal stimming include making sounds with your mouth. Now, the microphone's not going to pick it up, but I like to make the clicking sounds. I love doing farting sounds with my mouth. It's a guy thing. Okay, humming is another way of vocal stimming. Singing. Now, a lot of people sing. I mean, let's be honest, but singing, it can be a form of vocal stimming if we're doing it for the purpose to help us self-regulate, to calm down, reduce anxiety, stress, whatever, then it's a stim. Squealing, squealing is another stim. Whistling, I don't know if the mic picked that up or not, but whistling is another form of stimming. Making clicking sounds, which I did a moment ago. I love doing that like a turn signal. Throat clearing. I only clear my throat when I really need to, but some people would do that as a form of stimming. Grunting or growling is a form of stimming. I usually grunt or growl when I'm getting frustrated and agitated, and my wife knows that I'm under a lot of anxiety or I'm having trouble expressing something. Mimicking noises. I kind of like doing that. I like to mimic the noises that I hear, see how close I can get to them. Making vocalizations, repeating certain words or phrases. Now, this is known as echolalia, by the way, but repeating certain words and phrases is a form of stimming, which is called echolalia, which I mentioned a moment ago. And I do this. There are certain phrases that I like to repeat and do, and I do them for whatever reason, but because some of them are like cool words. I don't know. It's just me saying random words that is out of context. Like I could be sitting by myself, nothing really going on, and all of a sudden I would say, "Whose birthday is it today?" Just randomly blurting that out, or for me, it's phrases, not words, not one or two words, but for me, it's phrases. I will do that. Shouting, yelling, or screaming can be a form of vocal stimming. And 75, the last one on our list, is talking to yourself. That is a form of vocal stimming, and it's one that I engage in, and it's been one of my major stims most of my life, and it helps me regulate. And I've been ashamed of it most of my life, but now that I'm embracing autism confidently, I can proudly say this is one of my stims. Now it's your turn. What stims do you think should be added to this list? Share those stims that you think should be on the list by commenting on the video or joining our conversation, on my Facebook page, The Confident Autistic. A link to that Facebook page, as well as directions on how you can get a free gift from my website, is in the show notes. A video description, I should say, because it's not a podcast, really. It's a video. It's in the video description underneath the section that said resource links. 2, 1. So until next time, this is The Confident Autistic, reminding you that now is the time for you to embrace autism confidently. Join me live Thursday nights for The Confident Autistic Live, where I answer your questions, we discuss this week's videos, offer support, and more. The fun starts Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time in the US of A. Be sure to click the bell when you subscribe to the channel to be notified when the party begins.